All right, welcome to the Iron Sharpening Iron Show. I'm your man, Big Jack. This is where we prove we are stronger together, that if each one would reach one, we can all grow and glow. And today is just another beautiful day that the Lord has made, and we're here, and I'm glad to be here with you all. And I thank you for coming and spending this time with me. It's been a wonderful up to this point. I mean, we've just crossed the 2,000 subscriber mark earlier this month, and we're getting more and more guests on the stage, and the stories are getting better and better every time we come and do this. And I'm super, super excited because today is not going to be any different than all the other shows, because we got a great and amazing guest that's going to be on the stage today. There's going to be an introduction to a lot of people who don't know her, that's been in our communities here, that grow and glow together community. But it's an opportunity that we'll get to know and find out who this person is. So I don't only want to waste your time, and I want to hurry up and get her on the stage so we can start talking to her. So give me 1 second to get her up on the stage, and we're going to introduce you to my new guest. Here we come. Let's go. All right, I got Ruth Redmond on the stage with me. How you doing, Ruth? How you doing?
I'm good. And yourself?
I'm doing well, doing well. Welcome to the Iron Sharpening Iron Show. And this is just to break it down to you. We're live right now. We're live on YouTube. We're live on Facebook. We're after the show is over, we'll put some of the clips on Instagram and TikTok and all. But people will start coming in the chat, and once they start coming into the chat and commenting, we'll recognize them when they get there. Matter of fact, the source is there already saying aloha from Hawaii. Hello, source, and thank you for being on the Iron Sharpening Iron Show. And this is going to be a treat. I am super, super, super excited to have you on the show. I didn't know who you were. And then my man Walt Talk said, hey, you got to get Ruth Redmond on the show. And I'm like, okay, I'll get Ruth Redmond on the show. So thank you for being here.
Oh, it's a pleasure. I'm honored to be on the podcast. Very honored.
Well, you're more than welcome. So for those who don't know you, and I'm one of those people, so I'm geared up to learn. Tell us about yourself. Tell us a little bit about yourself, Ruth.
Okay. Well, I'm a native Washingtonian. I was born and raised in D.C., which they say, AKA Capitol Hill area. I'm the middle child of 5. Rest in peace, my youngest sister, Tina, who's not with us. But we're all raised in the Catholic setting. So I went to Holy Comfort Catholic Elementary School, and I went to an all-girl high school, Catholic high school, St. Cecilia's. So we have that old tradition Catholic religion in our family. Also, I attended PG College and UDC for nursing because I was going to be an LPN at the time, and then graduate to become an RN. But I didn't finish school, and I was always get scolded the reason why I didn't finish nursing school. Otherwise, I would have had my nursing degree. But I always knew that I had some kind of inclination to be something medical wise, because I always like to help people. And I wasn't afraid to see things. So I found a medical trade school and became a certified medical assistant. So I worked for 2 internists for over 6-7 years before I decided to join the fire department. I'm also a mother of 3 daughters, 5 grands, an avid lover of music. Everybody, my friends all know that's all I do is listen to music all day. I have a genre of music that I listen to, including, because I'm from DC, I like go-go.
Go.
And somewhat a fashionista. And again, I'm a 27-year retiree from the DC Fire and EMS department. And throughout my tenure, we'll go into that, what I did when I was on the job. But 27 years, which I'm still surprised. Some of the things that I did on that job, I can't believe I was able to do that. I'm a 10-year breast cancer survivor, inspirational speaker on that topic as well. And finally, a vitalizing new author of my memoir titled Within the Fire, I Found My Voice.
Oh wow. Okay. Oh, you got a great resume right here. It's hard to not say hard, but it's going to be a lot of stuff that we can dig into. So thank you
Oh,
for
yeah.
sharing with that. Sharing with that. So I just want to know. So you grew up and you say born and raised in the D.C. area. I heard you say was it Capitol Hill that you used? Did you say
Southeast.
Capitol Hill, Southeast? Okay. So how was it as a young child growing up in the D.C. area? What was that your life like then for your young years?
Um, well, because both my parents were kind of, I wouldn't say high class in the neighborhood, we were middle class, but then at the same time, we were just a comfortable class
Mm, okay.
setting. But my parents did make sure we had everything. My household was well grounded, fun loving environment. Um, my parents' house was the house to go to, the home to go to, because my mom cooked a meal every day except for Saturdays. So it was like an open house where a lot of
Mm,
our friends would come over on the weekends. I mean, on the weekdays after school or something, and they know they was going to get a good meal. And my mother didn't mind at all. And then everyone knows about my mother pantry. It looks like a commissary back in the day because
okay.
I'm telling you, you can go and pick up any snack that you want. She had it, including a variety of cakes and ice cream. So we had a good household. And then of course on Saturdays, my dad, who was in the Air Force.
Okay.
So I think that's where I get a little bit of my military off from, because I know one time my girlfriend was like, when I was scolding my girls, and she was like, girl, you kind of strict. You got like you've been in the military. And I'm like, well, my dad was, but the fire department is paramilitary.
Right, right.
So, but on Saturdays, he would get up early in the morning. He doesn't care if we went out at night or anything. He would start cleaning up and he would make us get up to do our chores. But the
Mm,
one thing that I thought was so funny, because sometimes I would wake up and he's playing United States Air Force band album.
okay.
And I'm like, okay, should I get up marching or what? So it kind of grew on me with that. And then later on in the day, my mom, that's I think where I get my love for music is from my parents and my older sister. But she had that old fashioned hi-fi stereo.
Okay. Yeah.
And in
Yeah.
the evenings, yeah, in the evenings, she would play her oldies but goodies. So
Mm,
that's why I know a lot of old songs because of
mm,
her.
right.
And my dad would play his BB King
Mm,
and his
okay.
James Brown.
Right. Right.
And then surprisingly, he would get into some Chuck Brown.
Okay. All
Yeah.
right.
So
So, a little variety for everybody.
yeah.
Ain't nothing wrong with
So
that.
and my
Yeah.
family had a sense of humor. My dad was a little more conservative, but my mom, she had a little sense of humor. So I think that's where I get mine's from.
Right. Okay.
Also, as a child, I had a vivid imagination. I love playing with dolls. I had all the Barbie dolls that was out back then, including all their accessories. I had the campers, the cars, the pool.
Oh wow.
Yeah, my parents and my grandmother kind of semi spoiled me with that. I had every doll you can name of.
Mm.
And then um, I also took piano lessons.
Oh. Okay.
And my uncle, I believe it was just him. I'm not sure if my mother and them contributed, but I came home one day from school and I had a Baldwin piano sitting in my living room.
Oh wow. Okay.
So I can take lessons on my own piano instead of going to his house to use his piano.
Mm.
And my grandfather used to take me all the way up northwest to this lady, Miss Eunice Shepherd, and she taught me piano lessons.
Gotcha. Okay. Now, do you still play? You still play the piano?
I wish, everybody, they say it's just like a bite. No, I try to teach
No.
my daughters, and I actually had to get the whole scale to lay out on the piano so I can
Right.
remember the notes. So
Remember? Yeah. Yeah. And like last time I tried to get on the bike, I fell off. So it ain't all that easy to get
yeah,
on the
it's
bike.
not that
Yeah.
easy.
Yeah.
But I do regret it. I wish I
Yeah.
did, because I'm thinking about trying to take another instrument. I just don't know what.
Right, right. Okay.
something different.
Yeah.
And then
Well,
also,
music is wonderful. So if you can, I
oh
mean,
yeah,
I really love hearing music and watching people play,
I do
but
too.
and I've never taken up or been able to actually play an instrument on my own. So I feel slighted that way. I can't do it, but I love watching other people do it. So really,
Well, my well, both on both my maternal and paternal side, they were musically inclined. But
mm,
my uncle, the one that got the piano, he could play by ear. So
right,
he'll
right.
listen to a song for a few days and then he picks it right up on the piano.
Gotcha.
And sometimes I think I have that capability, that talent, because I can pick out when somebody's hitting the wrong tune
Mm,
or it just doesn't flow. And I pick up easily. I remember one time I took my daughter to a concert, and it was like the Battle of the Bands or something like that. Anyway, it was over with, and we came out the audience early, and we were in the foyer, and those guys that had the drums was there, and I was like, I probably can play that. And the guy played a little tune with the snare,
right,
and I
right.
did the exact thing.
Oh wow.
And
Oh,
my
wow.
daughter and her girlfriend was like, so I think I do can pick up things by ear.
Right, right.
Um, I don't
Wow,
know.
that's a gift. I mean, a lot of people can't read the music, but they can play the music.
Yeah.
They like I say, I can hear the beat. I know what the beat is and I can play it. But
Yep.
if you told me to read it, every good boy does fine and all those letters,
Hmm.
what we learned in school, it doesn't connect. It doesn't connect for me. It's like that doesn't make sense. But like I say, I can hear if you hit the wrong note, and I can tell that it
Hmm.
should be here. And
Hmm.
and and when it has a good flow, it gives you that feeling on the inside that it's like, wow, this is really good. That's good
Hmm.
music. So yeah. But thank you. So now you said you went to Catholic schools. Did your kids go to Catholic school as well, or did you
Uh,
expose them to the public school world?
both. They
Both. Okay.
started out in Catholic, ended in public. My two youngest ones graduated from Catholic high school.
Okay.
My oldest one graduated from Henry Wise in Upper Marlboro. The
Okay.
next one she graduated from Elizabeth Seton
Yeah.
High School, and my youngest one graduated from Bishop McNamara in Forestville.
Oh yeah. Yep. Know them all. So I think Seton is right down the street from where I went to high school because I went to Bladensburg High School.
Yeah,
And I think
yep.
that's Seton that's right up the street. Yeah. Yeah. So
Yep.
we stayed, not say stayed away from Seton, but at the same time, they were right there. So it's like,
Yeah.
don't go up there.
And
Yeah.
Seton was an all-girls school too. And
Right,
my
right.
youngest
Yeah.
one, she didn't want to go to an all-girls school, so that's why she
Okay.
went to
Oh,
McNamara.
that's good. I mean, I guess it has its benefits and it has its,
Yeah.
like the exposure of being in a co-ed type thing, but then at the same time, to when you got schools that's dedicated to a certain cause and a certain way of teaching and getting things across, that's pretty
Hmm.
cool. So, no, that's really good. So I remember Seton. I remember all of those schools because I mean I grew up in that PG County area, so you
Okay.
knew you knew of the schools even if you never went inside. Like I never went past the front gate of Seton, but I knew where it was. So it just was no reason to go past the front gate.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
yes, I didn't do it. No, that's good. Now you said that you were a firefighter. So what motivated you to go into the fire department?
Well, believe it or not, I had no interest.
Mm,
None whatsoever. My dad wanted to be a firefighter, and I was told back then that they weren't hiring blacks at that time because they only
okay.
had a limited amount anyway.
Right.
And I think my mom said a lot of them were stationed down in Southwest.
Mm,
So all the years in grade school on up, my father had a fire scanner that I
okay.
hated. And I even joke and said my mother had the nerve to keep getting him new ones and not knowing it was preparing me for the job that I was about to take.
Right.
And he would turn it on as soon as he wake up in the morning after he cook his breakfast and coffee until the time he goes to bed. So we heard that scanner all day long. And I would never sit down to listen to it.
All right. Mm,
I could care less about fire calls or any of that, but he was heavy into it. So um, one day, my cousins, we found out that the fire department was having an entrance exam, and the
Okay.
test was somewhere. It was a school in Northwest, and me and my two male cousins stood in that long line. I give them kudos for accompanying me with it, but to be honest, I was just doing it as an ego thing to see if I
Gotcha.
can pass.
Yeah.
Because I didn't want to work for I didn't want to be a firefighter. That was the
Right.
least thing on my mind. And I thought, I'm too, small frame and I'm too dainty for this. So I'm just going to see if I can take the test.
Mm.
And we wind up standing in that long line and we took the test. So later on, it took a long time for them to give us our results.
Mm.
So at that time, then I was working for the two internists, and one cousin went in the government and the other one became a police.
Okay.
And then finally they called us, but it was too late. So back then they would send letters saying, okay, are you still interested? Check the box. And then one day at work, my mother called and she said, hey, you got a certified letter from the DC Fire Department. So when I open it up, it says, either you're going to join us or we're taking you out the queue completely.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah, so I had a long talk with both my parents. Some of my girlfriends didn't want me to join because they didn't want me to get hurt and they just couldn't see me being a firefighter. But I talked to the main people, my parents.
Gotcha.
And they said, go for it.
Mm.
So I checked, I'm in. So Lord and behold, February 13th, 1989 was my start date as a DC female firefighter.
Wow. Okay. Wow. That I'm waiting to hear about this and how it kicked off. So 1989. Oh, holy cow.
Mm-hmm.
So that was the year I graduated high school.
Oh,
So yeah. Not trying to throw anything at you, but
you
that is
just
the year I
did.
graduated. That's the year I graduated high school. So hey, I was yeah, but that's when I graduated high school. So, but I'm definitely wanting to learn and hear about this experience of once you crossed in. So we're going to take a quick break, and then we're going to come back and we're going to hopefully you'll tell us about how it was as a now female African American firefighter going in. So we'll be right back on the Iron Sharpening Iron Show with my guest Ruth Redmond, and she's going to hopefully tell us about her experience as a firefighter. We'll be right back.
Get ready for the ultimate live experience. Join us on stage where music, poetry, and comedy collide in a night to remember. Top musicians, spoken word artists, and comedians come together for a unique and unforgettable show. From soulful melodies to side-splitting jokes, this jam-packed event has it all. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the ride as we bring you the best of the best in this one-of-a-kind performance. Are you ready for the next We Be Jammin' Live?
All right, welcome back to the Iron Sharpening Iron Show. I'm your man, Big Jack. I got my guest, Ruth Redmond, with me. We do know that the We Be Jammin' Live show is coming the last Saturday of the month, and I think this time is May the 31st. So be ready for that. We got some wonderful artists that's going to be on the stage, comedians, poets, and of course the musicians. So if you haven't been there in the last couple of months, definitely try to check it out. And if you haven't hit that like button yet, please hit the like button. And if you're not a subscriber, please subscribe. And I do want to thank all of the subscribers that have subscribed to my channel, my show. We have just crossed that 2,000 mark, and I thank you for that. And it's truly a blessing and a pleasure to be here. So, Ruth, we were talking before we went on break about, excuse me, it's 1989, and you're now crossing over as a DC firefighter. Is that what it was? DC firefighter?
Yes, DC fire
okay.
And EMS.
And EMS. And so some of your maybe nursing training is now coming back into play from the times in college. And so how was it as a young firefighter? I guess you'll be a rookie. It's how to use it.
Yeah.
I think that's the term. Okay.
Yeah. Piggyback from the other childhood, like I said, not knowing that my father's fire scanner was preparing me. But also I failed to mention that I was a tomboy.
Okay.
So I wasn't afraid of anything. And along with the medical background. So I think that all kind of intertwined in preparing me to become a firefighter. So when I got hired, they hired too many of us. So we were all down to training school, and I can't remember how many months we have to be there, but because they couldn't have that big capacity there, they shipped a lot of us out to companies, and we were called the 10-day wonders because we were in the training academy for 10 days, and they took us right to the firehouse. And my station is Engine 8 on 15th and C Southeast, which they also call Hogs on the Hill because the stadium was nearby for the Redskins.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So those guys there trained me and prepared me so much that years later, maybe I think 2 or 3 years later, they sent me down to training school. I was so mad because I'm like, I already know everything now. I don't need to go there, but I had to do that, to take the test and all that. And then I'm also certified. All of us had to be EMTs, so I have that under my belt. So during my stay at Engine 8, being the female rookie of that shift, which, like I said, I had some awesome guys that made sure they took care of me. Some of the things I had to get used to that I didn't like, but the thing that I kept telling myself is I knew what I was getting into when I accepted the job. So that's what kept playing in my mind. And then my father was behind my back because when we had to clean the firehouse and they told me I had that side of the apparatus, which was the men's bathroom, and to mop, that's when I was like, I'm not doing that. My father mopped. We never touched the mop. But in the fire department, it's like, oh, well, double up with the gloves because you're going to touch the mop and you're going to clean the toilets. So that was a culture shock for me. And they taught me how to cut grass. So we became a brotherhood. I actually had a dad on the fire department. I played dad, rest in peace. I just went to his funeral last week. Everybody knew, the guys knew, don't play with Ruth or don't do anything or say anything wrong to her because she'll go back and tell her dad. And he would straighten them up. So I really had that backbone and that support, even as a rookie. But the thing in my book that I talk about, I had to prove myself. Because number one, female, African-American female, and then I was small frame. So they didn't think I could do the job. Even I had a African-American brother come to me in my face and said, you might as well leave. You're not going to make it. So it didn't deter me from not doing it, just made me stronger and say, oh, I'm going to learn this. I knew what I was getting into. It's a male predominantly job. We had a few females before me, not like they have now. They have a lot of females, but the thing that I had to do was prove myself. And the one particular incident was we had a sergeant, a Caucasian sergeant, and the guys told me stay at the desk because I was a rookie, and because they definitely believe in staying at the desk to study. And they said, don't just stay there because he doesn't want females on the job. Other things. So I crossed this path and I spoke because that's what you do. Like I said, part military. And I said, good morning, Lieutenant so-and-so. And that man Sergeant so-and-so, and he looked at me and walked away. So I was like, that's what I said. I'm like, they weren't lying. I'm not, I'm not used to this because in my mother's house where I lived, my neighbors were Caucasians. I was in their station wagon.
Right.
So really? So then later on in the day, then the tone came on and it was a box line, which is 4 engines, 2 trucks, squads, and all that. That means something big was on fire and it was a house.
Gotcha.
Engine 8 was first due. And my position that they had trained me is the line person, where I will pull the hose off the truck.
Oh, wow. Okay.
We will go to the porch, and that's when we make sure everything is on. We would don the mask with the SCBA and then go in to proceed to find the fire. Well, I joke in my book because when we got on the porch, that sergeant says, "Are you ready?" And I looked at him, and like I said, duh, yeah. I'm like, this ain't my first rodeo, dude. You don't know me, because it wasn't my first fire. But anyway, he went in with me. People don't know that in firefighting, we can't see it all.
Oh, okay.
That's why we're crawling. And we're trained to feel the floor so we won't go through a hole.
Okay.
Now, this was in the afternoon, but in a fire, it looked like it was 2 a.m. So the only thing comes up is you hear crackling and that glow. And once I heard that, I opened up the hose. Bottom line, I extinguished the fire. So anyway, we back out, then there's light. The house brightens up like normal. And I'm on the porch like we normally do. I'm taking off my SCBA and unhooking and closing out my SCBA, which is the tank on the back. But I felt my tank being lifted. It was that sergeant. He took the tank off my back.
Okay.
Ordered those guys to get me, because every truck has a cooler of water.
Okay.
He ordered them to get me some water.
And
I'm like, wow, I had to prove myself.
Right. You earned your spot. Yeah.
And when we got back to the firehouse, he was calling his buddies, and all he was talking about, oh yeah, that's my girl, that's my smoke eater, that's my girl, she this and that. I'm like, wow.
Yeah. Well, and sometimes you do. You got to prove yourself. You got to show them that, like I say, I'm not afraid, and 2, I can do it, and you deserve to be here. It's not just because, it's a lot of times people think they got a position because of, where we're hiring, for like you're African American female, so we got to bring you in for the, that's not, for the look, you're the poster person, and but that's not true. So that's what's up. Let me check some of these people that's in there. So Mexicali Fish Keeper, how you doing? And thanks for being here. Cassie Kitchen Creation, thank you for being here. The source is here, and thanks. KT Lacey is in the house, and thank you, KT, for being here and being on the Iron Sharpening Iron Show. And I got my guest, Ruth Redmond, and I'm fascinated. So it's very rare that I have guests on the show that they can say they did something that I didn't do. And right now, I can say that I've never been a firefighter. Now, I've been in fires, but I've never been a firefighter. So I'm fascinated at what you're saying, even when you're breaking it down, pulling the hose off the truck. I'm just trying to imagine you pulling that hose, or anyone pulling that hose off the truck, because I think it's so cool, because I see that someone jumps off, and then I see the truck goes down the street a couple of more, and the hose starts unraveling out of the truck. And I thought that, really, I think that's the coolest thing when you see it done. Not that it has to be a fire, but just the fact that they can do that. So those are the things. So I'm going to be asking you a lot more questions about the firefighting experience. But normally, and this is what I share to people in the chat, that normally we know we have B here with us, and B is better than Nightbot, and she'll be dropping all kinds of links and all of those things. But B is not here today. And so I'm hoping that she gets well. She told me she wasn't feeling well. So get well soon, B. Just wanted to make sure that I acknowledge her, because she is a great addition to the show as far as behind the scenes, dropping those links and all. So Ruth, you talked many times about your book. And I know I have a copy of the book, or the cover. I've never read the book, but I'm more interested. So because you say some of these stories are in your book. So that wasn't your first fire. So give me, I guess, if you can share an experience of one I will never forget that fire. I will never forget that moment. Do you have anything that you could share with me like that?
Oh, I have so many. That particular one stood out because of the environment he put me in, being uncomfortable. But I wasn't uncomfortable because I knew my job.
Got you.
But I've had, oh my gosh, and that's where not to brag, but that's how I gained some respect, because being a rookie in probation and a female, I was getting more fire calls than some of the guys that came on with me in their stations. So I do remember one time, okay, one particular fire I went to, it might have been my first one. And when I got back to the fire station, I had 4 phone calls. And one was from he wasn't my uncle at the time, but he was a close family member. He was a chief. And he called to make sure I had this and that on. And then my aunt's brother, that was on the fire department, he called and said, hey, did you have your gloves on good? And this and this and that. And then another person on the fire department called. And then lastly, I called my dad, and I'm like, I know you was listening because it was on a scanner. So that really meant something to me. And then the other fires that I was doing, just like the one with that sergeant, when I would extinguish the fire and come out, and I joke in my book, I said they were hitting me in my helmet or on the back. And I'm like, hey, they act like I'm a football player. Y'all gonna give me a headache. But the first fire, I hate to say it was crack house. And it caught on fire. And when I extinguished it, I remember standing on that porch, sweaty, hot, adrenaline, got to calm my heart rate down. It was a Sunday. And I said, I think I might quit because this is not me. This is not me. But as time came on, you see, I never quit, and I did 27 years. But and there've been some fires where the guys would say, hey, Chief Redmond on the scene, because of my father's scanner. And if it wasn't, because Engine 8 was near my mom's house.
Okay.
Because of his scanner, certain fires, my father was on the scene.
Right.
So my station would call him Chief Redmond. They sure did. Yeah. So that was memorable for me, but I just still can't believe that I did all that. So in my 27 tenure with the fire department, after I did 6 years as a firefighter, I got tired because, I hate to say it, we were doing up on medical calls. And see, that's the thing with firefighters, even with me, it's the adrenaline.
Right.
And I'll tell you when I lost that adrenaline, but I was like, darn, we're not getting no fire calls. All we getting is medical calls. Ugh. So, I was getting bored. And then my father said, don't quit, because I was going to quit, resign. And he said, move up. So a position came up as fire marshal in the fire marshal's office as a fire inspector. Took the test. So I was a fire inspector.
Okay.
Then I got the interest, like I said, that tomboyish, devilish, I'm not scared or anything came out. I started riding with the fire investigators.
Okay.
And it got to the point where the fire marshal was like, hey, where's your gear? And I'm like, in my trunk. Where's your car? At my mother's house. Go get it. From then on, you report to FIU, which is Fire Investigation Unit, Georgia Avenue. I was the first female to step foot to start riding with those investigators. Lord and behold, I became a fire investigator.
Okay.
And I did that for about 6 years. And the best accolade I got it was an arson fire. And I remember I was coming in work, and my officer was like, come here, Ruth. He was like, I want to be the first to congratulate you. And I'm like, okay. And he handed me this letter. It was a letter from the DC Superior Court, because I had a arson case where I had a grand jury. And I asked the first time I was in a grand jury, I didn't know how that worked. I was on maternity leave. Do you know they blew up? That fire was like 6 years later. They blew up all my pictures, and I had to explain to the attorney every picture that I took for my case.
Right.
And the bottom line is, then I had to go in front of the jurors, and they had to see if I was competent enough. And he was like, okay, they're going to ask you this. They're going to ask you that. Be cool, be calm, because they can pick that up, and they can. But then he said, oh, you did great. They selected you. We got a case. So the bottom line, I had my first arson case, and I won. Unfortunately, dude got convicted of 9 years. But that letter from the DC court, I still have to this day, displaying my recognition and how proud they were, and how I really educated the audience on what he did and how it started. So,
Right.
and then after that, I had several arson cases. Now, this is the thing that I also say in my book that I say is too graphic, so I don't describe it. But another colleague, rest his soul, he's like, "Hey, you ever been to a fire autopsy?" And I'm like, "No." He said, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "Great, eat lunch." He said, "Hey, you want to go see an autopsy?" I'm like, "Sure." I met him at the morgue, and they gowned me up and all, and I had gum in my mouth because I'm like, I don't know what to expect. I saw my first fire case autopsy, and again, not knowing that was going to prepare me, because when I actually became a certified fire investigator, I think I had 3 or 4 deaths, fire deaths that I had to go to the morgue to verify.
Right.
But seeing how they do an autopsy, we joked about it because I was chewing that gum hard, seeing what I saw. And then when I got back to my parents to eat my lunch, I threw the whole sandwich away.
Oh, yeah.
I couldn't do it. So
that's the same. So that now look is amazing, because I'm listening to you and I'm caught into the whole thing, because of the fact that a lot of people, and I'm being one of them, don't know that there's so many different parts to the fire department. You see the firefighter come out, and it's even when you watch it on TV, you might see that there's a captain, and there's the chief, and then it's the crew. But then you're saying the fire marshal, and I know about the fire marshal, then the fire inspectors and all. So I heard those, but now to meet someone that actually done those roles. So I'm more like intrigued on like what is the fire marshal does, what the fire inspector do.
We have certain roles in the fire marshal's office as inspectors. Some were inspectors of child care facilities, schools. I was a charter school inspector. And also, we were certified pyrotechnicians. So I thought that was really cool. So we got the best overtime going to those concerts. And when they use the fireworks on stage, whatever, we had to sit there. Yeah, so we had a free ride.
It's funny because when you said it, all I'm thinking is the movie Lean on Me, when the fire marshal coming to school and Crazy Joe running around with a bat.
My partner used to say, "Girl, you mean," because it's a couple of times, it's true. We almost had to shut down schools, and we had to call in the fire marshal's office and let them know, hey, their fire alarm system's not working. And they were on it. Those principals and everybody's the maintenance guy, because they had to call those fire alarm people, or we had to shut the school off, close the school.
So I'm sure it drives you crazy. I'm sure it drives you crazy if you're watching a video of something like that and you hear the person's smoke detector chirping in the back. Like, yeah, I know it has to drive you crazy. There's no way. It's like, wait a minute, fix the thing. Get a battery. Come on now.
And that's another thing. And they do it now in the office, especially, unfortunately, if it's a death fire. We go around in the neighborhood and knock on doors and install smoke detectors. And they, like I said, they do that now to this day. But back to my tenure, after I became an investigator, I was like, I wanted to stay there, but there was some things going on that I didn't like. So another opening came up. I became a hazmat technician.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So that was another genre that I had no idea I was going to get in. That you see on TV with the bubble suit and the
right, yeah.
I wore all that, and
wow.
And I went into a lot of scenarios that we had to fully be encapsulated because of the scene. And the only thing that I was glad that we didn't do, my shift wasn't working. Remember when DC had that anthrax?
Oh yeah, yes, I remember.
My shift wasn't working. However, it's crazy that people are copycats, because every tour we had to run all these calls, and they were false. People were putting powder in envelopes.
Oh yeah.
Oh my gosh. And they don't realize we had to suit up and do all that stuff, carry all that equipment just to test it. And it was powder.
Powder, yeah.
Oh, that was terrible.
Yeah. So I mean, during that time, I was with the post office, so I remember because
Oh yeah,
every letter that was any package that was dusty, whatever, it's like I don't know what it is, so we
yeah.
had the iodine tablets and all that stuff there to try to get it. Yeah, so yes, I remember those days. So we're going to take a quick break. We want to talk about your book, so
Okay.
we're going to take a quick break. I want to thank Cassie's Kitchen Creation because she's out there dropping links, so I appreciate her out there dropping these links. The sources out there. I see Paula Lancaster saying great interview. Mexicali Fish Keeper is here. The source is here. And I got my guest Ruth Redmond on here with me, and I'm enjoying myself learning more and more about the fire game. I guess I'm gonna say in a sense, there's more to it than just watching the trucks come by and seeing people. Sometimes they get a bad rap because it's like they knocking people's doors down and tearing up their house, breaking through glass that don't need to be. But I'll say that it's a lot more to it. So I appreciate that. So I'm gonna drop a quick commercial. We're gonna come back and we're gonna talk about your book, if that's okay. So we'll be right
Sure.
back in a brief moment on the Iron Sharpening Iron Show.
Get ready for the ultimate live experience. Join us on stage where music, poetry, and comedy collide in a night to remember. Top musicians, spoken word artists, and comedians come together for a unique and unforgettable show. From soulful melodies to side-splitting jokes, this jam-packed event has it all. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the ride as we bring you the best of the best in this one-of-a-kind performance. Are you ready for the next We Be Jammin' Live?
All right, welcome back to the Iron Sharpening Iron Show. And I got my guest, Ruth Redmond, with me today. And Ruth, we're going to talk about your book. So I had to put something special together for you. Just it's a little brief one, but it's going to post your book real quick. So
Okay.
let me pop it up on the stage so we can see what it look like. Right, it was just a little
Oh, I
brief
like
one.
that. I like that.
Yeah, yeah, we'll definitely send you your copy of it. It was just a little something right there, but we'll get your book up there so we can see it right there. So it's Within the Fire. I Found My Voice, memoir by Ruth Redmond. So what inspired you to put the book together other than that wonderful life you shared with me so far? What is that, just with the book about your 27 years, or is it more to it?
No, as I explained to, when I go to these book events and it's like, oh, I love the cover. And first of all, a lot of people can't believe that's me. And that's when I was an investigator. Within the Fire is talking about all the health related and life issues that I had since I was a toddler.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. So it's a real memorial of my life. And the one thing that I said, I almost died when I was a toddler. And because my mom back then was taking me to house doctors, and they finally took me to another house doctor. And he said that doctor was feeding me the wrong medicine and said I had a few months I wouldn't have been here. So in my book, I said, God knew me because I sure enough didn't know him, and he was preserving me for something. And then after that, as a teenager, I had life-changing, health, female stuff. It was just back to back. I was told I couldn't have kids. I got 3 daughters. It was so Within the Fire is each chapter tells you some kind of obstacle that I went through. But at the end, I found my voice and I explained how I transpired to get out of that funk.
Right.
So that's where that title came from. And it talks, like I said, and then like I said, childhood problems, adolescence problems. Then, like I tell everybody, I'm a walking Tyler Perry movie because my love of my life boyfriend called my wedding off like a week and a half before walking down the aisle. And in my book, I'm very transparent, and I let readers know I was angry. He let me curse him out. I did all that, and then I finally had to sit still and and think about it because he was hurting too. And I said in my book, it lets me know men hurt too.
Right.
He was very hurt. And we finally met up. We talked about it. And I joke at the end, like I said, I have a sense of humor. And I'm like, here, this dude called my wedding off, and now we best friends. Who does that? But come, to give you how we are, I went to New Orleans 2 weeks ago to another book event. He took me to the airport.
Oh, okay. Well,
And he picked me up at the airport.
Gotcha.
We're good friends, so sometimes you do have to sit still, get out your own way, and just look at the whole scenario. And I did, and I put my anger aside, and I saw that he was hurting really bad as well. So then the chapter goes into joining the fire department and some of the disparities that I went through and how I gained my respect on the job. And I talk about, I knew what I was getting into. Like, I do speaking engagement, and one of my titles was, I may not look the part, but I am the part, meaning I don't look like a female firefighter. I don't look like, because one guy was like, I can't believe you can't pull nobody out of fire. And I'm like, back in my day, they trained me. Yes, I failed to mention in my fire days, guys used to teach me how to box. I lift weights.
Gotcha.
Yeah, so they prepared me. I was toned, so yes, I could. I knew my job. So I felt a little male chauvinistic when he said that, but I said, you don't know me. So that's why I know my stance. So it didn't bother me after that. But and at the end of the chapter, while still being on the fire department, I was diagnosed with breast cancer. And I was a fire inspector then, and the fire marshal's office really took care of me. They made sure I didn't go without a check. They called on me, family and friends brought me food over. Just amazing that I had when I was going through that. So the blessing was I was able to retire on full retirement instead of disability.
Right.
Because of my breast cancer.
Right. Okay.
And like I said, this March that just passed came my 10th year. So I'm a 10th year survivor.
Right. Well, congratulations on being a survivor. Yeah, that's we could definitely talk more about that for sure on that. Not so much in breast cancer, but cancer itself and how cancer doesn't care who you are. It doesn't care what you do and how important you are to anybody. It will it can get you. So I'm gonna take a quick moment. We got another guest that's going to pop up on the stage, and once we get up here, we're going to have a little bit more deeper conversation about what you're talking about and all the things that you've shared with me. So give me 1 second to get him up on the stage. All right, my man Walt Talks on the stage. What's up, Walt? How you doing?
Big Jack, my man. What's happening?
It's all good. It's all good.
Hey, Walt.
How are you?
I'm good. I'm good.
Hey, I thought I knew you, and I've known you for as long as you've been on the department. I still learned some stuff tonight. So,
oh, okay, yeah. Well,
hey, I'm proud of you. I'm glad you were able to come on, and certainly glad that you finally wrote the book. What she didn't tell you, man, is she had a lot of people egging her on to write the book that she wouldn't write. It was, and she finally broke down and did it. And what she also didn't tell you, she's kind of got this all shucks personalities, but she's much tougher than you realize.
Oh yeah,
she is super tough. Yeah,
I'm listening now, and I'm like, it's for sure. Because I probably would have been one of those people sitting up there in a firehouse. I'm like, you can't, right? Okay.
And, if I can show you better than I can tell you were a person, you talking to her right there. So
right.
Yeah.
Well, that's good. That's awesome.
Yeah, it's a lot of guys was like,
oh man,
things come out of her mouth. She time enough for you.
Oh yeah. She's she can handle it, and it's not like she's one of the guys, but she's like not clutching her pearls every time somebody says something. and she can put you in. You know, just when you think you need to protect her, you just kind of watch the show and watch her check somebody herself. So it's cool, and she's done her job. She's helped a lot of people, a lot of fun, and man, we've had some great conversations over the years. So yeah.
Well, I mean, for a lot of people to know, Walt is a former firefighter, and Ruth is a former firefighter. So, and Mexicali Fishkeeper put in the comments, he thinks firefighters have the same bond as military squads. So,
Yes.
like I said, I know talking with Ruth was saying being former military and being a veteran, I remember those times of being, you know, you're with your unit and you work together, you train together, you eat together, you sleep together. And when duty is when the mission comes, you get the job done. And one of your big goals is we want everyone to come back. You know, we don't leave anyone behind. We're going to do whatever we can to make sure that we don't leave any. In the military, that doesn't always go out the way we want to, and I'm sure in fire it's the same way.
And always in the fire,
it'll
but not as
always
often
come
as the
back the
military.
way.
It probably works out more with the fire department than the military, but we still have some casualties, unfortunately.
Right, yeah. And so with all of that, I mean, I'm sure that, like I said, I could sit here and just listen to you two go back and forth a conversation on the different things. But I know we put Ruth's book up, and I don't want to shortchange her on the book because of the fact that I want to know I know you got a lot of stories in it, but what was the process of writing the book? I mean, people egging you on, but what was the process that you went through?
It was a long journey. It took a long time for me to process. I was on a friend of mine's podcast, and she asked, can she put it on her social media? And I did as well. And we got a lot of hits. And then I was getting phone calls or texts saying, you need to put this in a book. So I still hemmed and hawed. It really started one night. I was laying in bed after my cancer surgery, and I started seeing stories of other females in other cities, Caucasian females, talking about what they went through and this and this and that. And it just dawned on me, because in my book, I say, why me? Why me? Until I finally said, why not me? Stop feeling sorry for yourself, because I'm in the DC nation's capital, a female firefighter. I need to tell my story. And that motivated me as well. Like I said, I was diagnosed with cancer in 2015. My book was just published last year. So that's how long it took. It was tedious, overbearing at some times, but I wanted to make sure I was very transparent so people can see how I really felt and so some people said they felt what I felt. And that's what I wanted them to do, because I mean, this is life. And I also was told that it helped other people what they're going through, in which I had 4 people that actually called me, and I had to talk to them to bring them, to stop the tears, because when they got diagnosed with cancer. But it was tedious. It was transparent. The funny thing about it, I can only write at night.
No.
It has to be after 8 o'clock at night. This is my little, no lie. After 8 o'clock at night, sitting in my living room on my sofa with my laptop, all these notes all on my sofa, because at night things will pop in my head 2, 3, 4 in the morning. And I have to write it down because, I'm getting old, so I will forget. So all that was on my sofa, along with old school dictionary and thesaurus. My daughter can tell you, she wake up in the morning, you would thought I was a school teacher.
Right.
And then I had to put all that together as a chapter. So it was tedious, but I took my time and I did it on my terms, and that's how the book came about. So, and the thing is, I still keep a journal on my nightstand right now, because I'm in the midst of, I was asked to do a children's book. So, and like the other night, I'm not lying, stuff just popped up in my head, and it was 3 a.m, and I'm sitting up writing, because I'm also thinking about doing an anthology, which is a book about different stories from different people.
Right.
I already got I already got the title for that. So my mind is, so I have a journal right next to my nightstand. And thanks to my cousin years ago, and I'm going to mention her because she's on the chat, Paula Lancaster, kept saying, just write. Just get a journal and write. And I would never do it. And finally, I called her and said, well, at least I got a journal, but I still wouldn't write.
Right,
And
right.
I guess I really wasn't believing in myself that I could do this. But at the same time, I think I might have been destined, because what I didn't tell you, when I was a fire inspector and I had to go to the mom and pop stores, and I was on Pennsylvania Avenue Southeast, and it was a, what you call the people, the fortune telling store, whatever.
Okay.
And after I did her inspection and everything, and she asked to read my palm, and I don't believe in that stuff. And she said, have you ever published anything? And I'm like, no. You know, I'm looking real puzzled, like, no, why would I? And here I done. First thing I thought about was when I got that letter from the Superior Court.
Right, right.
They published that in their courts, but then here I am writing a book, and now about to write another book.
Gotcha. Okay. All right. So now I got you here on my YouTube channel. I'm a content creator, and I'm listening to you talk about this book and all the different stories and chapters. Have you, or do you have a social media channel, platform, or anything like that?
No.
No.
And you know, when I went to New Orleans and we had the author group chat, meet and greet, some of the people there said they never seen a female firefighter. That I was shocked. I'm like, huh? And I'm like, I had females before me that came on the job. You never seen one? But they said they never seen one. But they told me, I mean, they almost beat me up there. Even the females, they were like, you're too hard on yourself. You're shortchanging yourself. Why don't you have this, and that? And you should have a platform, because you resonate with people. And I think it would go further, even with female firefighters from all over. So no, I don't have that.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, I'm not pushing you to do anything. I mean, but I think the platform of being on a stage, or being in this like you are now today, sharing your story, that millions and millions of people will be able to hear and resonate on what you're talking about, and be right there with you. So we're encouraging everyone that, so those who are here, Mexicali and all, we all have a story. We all have different ways and different things that we're trying to share. And that's where it's Big Jack Story Time is all about, telling stories. And we can go on forever and ever and ever. Like this is amazing for me, because of the fact that I was never a firefighter, so I've never had to say I can't even. Normally, I can say, yeah, I done that. And this one, I'm like sitting back in the back seat, like the little, like, waiting for my turn. But it's okay. I've been in a fire. I've been burned. I've been burned, and I had my house burned down. So know, not that I want to, those are memories that But I totally respect the firefighters, because of the fact that, to the point, and I want to ask this because now I got two firefighters on, and this is something that it bothers me all the time. So when people come around and they say we're raising money for the fire department, and it was like the fraternal order or the da and I'm like, is this money going to them, or is it going to you walking around raising this money? So I'm wondering, because what I do is just go straight to the fire department and give it to them, saying thank you, and it's his lunch for the crew, or for the team, or for the house. But I would never give. So I don't want to be wrong, because if they're doing the right thing, then so you can help me right now and diffuse all of this right now.
Well, Walt, before you tell, one thing I'm going to say is DC is not a volunteer. They're all paid. And that's all I got to say.
Gotcha.
Now, for the other counties, Maryland, PG, like here, there are a lot of volunteers, so they do need the money. But DC, if somebody say we calling because we deep, no.
I got you.
Yeah.
But also, just like with the police departments, there are people out there who fundraise. They use a name close enough to an organization to make you think that you're giving it to a legitimate organization. So if you want to donate to your local fire department, especially if you live in a county or municipality that has a volunteer fire department, or even partially volunteer, and they come around collecting, like you just said, Big Jack, there's a lot of ways to donate without blindly stroking a check. And then sometimes you may see them with the fire truck at a stoplight, what do they call it? Filling the boot with the fire boot, collecting money. So there are a lot of times where it is legitimate. There are a lot of times where they may come around trying to sell like maybe raffle tickets or stuff like that. Even in DC, we have that, but not so much. But again, in today's time, you just got to be aware, man. You got to be mindful that there's people out there hustling all the time. So
Right.
you
Yeah.
got to be mindful, and the best way to give is directly, like you say. That way, you get rid of the administrative costs and anything if there's any in between costs between you and that
Yeah.
donation.
Then if anybody has any question, they call the firehouse.
Call the firehouse.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now I know, and y'all can help me. And again, I'm not bashing any kind of way, but I know that some places now are like charging a fee for them to come to your house.
Or to come to your house?
Yeah, because like if you got to pay, like it's like
your alarms and stuff.
Yeah, yes.
So,
well, this is why, and I was in West Virginia, so, and I'm not sure, every place is different, and I know that. That's what I say. It's not a
Right.
bash.
Mm-hmm.
It was just when I saw it, and I'm like, okay, so we got to pay. So what happens if you don't pay? They're not going to come, and that's where that's my mind thinking. I got to but I'm not going to take that chance. I'm going to make this payment because I want them to put the fire out. But
you had to pay for what?
For them to show up. Like you pay a fee up front for the year, and that puts you on the list that if you had a fire, they would actually come out and put fire.
Really?
Small town USA. Ruthie was in West Virginia, but also back in the day, they would put what's called, and I have one on my front door, well, not on my front door, but on my wall, a fire mark, and that would let the firefighters know that you paid money to the insurance company or the local fire company. And that would determine whether, that was back in the day, whether your house would get serviced.
Right.
But now, like we're both retired DC firefighters, so that's not happening in DC because it's a Class A fire department. Your taxpaying dollars takes care of that, as well as the visitors to the city. But there's some municipalities out there that I've heard that.
I've never heard
that. Thing I want to say to you, Jack, when you talk about, and I got to go back for a minute, and Ruth, you can get a kick out of this one too. When you talked about if my house was okay till the fire department showed up.
Oh yeah.
Okay, so here we go. And Ruth was an inspector, an investigator, the whole 9 yards. When I came on, I guess Ruth too, I came on in 85. We'd have to come in if you had an electrical fire. And just around the outlet, we'd have to tear the wall out until we didn't see any charring. So we might tear it all the way up to the ceiling, right? Now we have thermal imagers, and those things have been improved since I left, because I've been gone 11 years. But what you don't want to do as a firefighter is ever have to return to the scene because you didn't do what you were supposed to do the first time.
Yeah.
So I'm a DC resident, so I definitely have a problem with hearing glass break and you don't have a mask on. And every now and then that will happen because the adrenaline rush. But if it's so bad that you need to break somebody's window, you need to have your mask on, right? Period.
Yeah.
But back to the other situation, I got to tell you, man, if we leave you something to complain about, we've done our job. Because when we come back and the house is on fire because we didn't do our jobs, it's pretty impressive to see the ladder trucks surrounded and drowning, spraying water on the building. But we all know that had we done the proper overhaul and the proper and just really, really, really looked into this situation, it probably wouldn't have been that. So that very rarely happens, but it does happen in the fire service. I mean, we're a microcosm of the world, just like any place else. And all the stars align at the right time for the wrong reason, and you get those kind of incidents. So, but it's taking your door off, just destroying your property for no reason. It's not necessary, and that's something that you make sure that you train people properly not to do. Yeah.
Earlier, before you came on, Walt, you probably heard when I was saying my stance on stuff changed when I became an investigator because I had a house fire. And, I'm going, once they put it out, I have to investigate and see what caused it, even though it was accidental. This grown man was on the porch, I never forgot, and he cried so hard, and even on me. And, we kind of like not supposed to show emotions and all that. And, I'm trying to comfort this guy. And he kept saying, this was a heirloom. This was handed down from my folks, and I lost it.
Yeah.
And that right there made me change how I look.
Absolutely.
And because I had just purchased my own very first townhome, I'm like, wow, everything that I worked for, even though it's materialistic, but some of the memories, it's gone. This older guy was really crying, that it touched me so badly that it made me think. And I'm like, okay, yeah, I'm all for fire prevention and, stopping these fires because, as a rookie, like the guys, I had the adrenaline and I used to sit there, like I told you, and said, oh, darn, are we going to get a fire yet? Darn, we ain't doing nothing. Now I'm like, I hope we don't get a fire.
Yeah,
so you're not looking for to be proficient at what we do. Anybody to be proficient at what you do, you have to do it. So you're not hoping that anything burns, especially me, because I lived in the city. I still do. But if there's something going on, you want to be there. But also, you have to. When I got appointed in '85, I was downtown, but we would run Georgetown, and I've been on fires on Wisconsin Avenue and Mass Avenue on Embassy Road, where they basically were like, the fire is coming through the roof, and they're like, well, we just need a couple of you guys in here, or can you take your boots off? But the flip side of that is I've seen guys move stuff out the way and not just throw stuff out the way, and the situation is this: the more insurance you have, the more protection you have, right? Hey, they're like, do what you got to do because it's all insured.
Right.
But you go to someone's house that may not even have renter's insurance, and you're throwing their whole life out the window that's not even charged for no reason. And somebody has to say that from inside of that circle. It shouldn't even have to come down to the officer, but if you have to say that. And trust me, man, I've been in a few discussions on that, because it's just like, if it's not charged, why are we throwing it out the window?
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, so you got to think like, and again, it's not like I'm just trying to ruin someone is trying to ruin someone's life. It's all about that adrenaline rush and that broken glass. And then I'll give you this one too. And Ruth, I know you can attest to this. Hey man, the siren side. You ever heard that statement before? Siren side. People get caught up in that siren, and they're like this. So when you out there in your car with the windows up and the music blasting, not paying attention to the fire truck, man, it's dangerous, or you think you're going to beat the fire truck, It's dangerous. So, we're trying to get, because we don't know where we're going to, and like Ruth, man, I got to tell you, she is probably one of the best people to have. I've had quite a few assignments, but so has Ruth. And so for her to give you that perspective, she'll tell you that every stop she's made, she has matured as a firefighter. Right, Ruth?
That's good.
Yeah.
No, I'm listening to you, and I'm listening to both of y'all, and you can tell, for those who don't know, they know each other before they came on the show.
Absolutely.
So this ain't their first rodeo, as Ruth said. This ain't their first fire. They've talked to each other before. But I remember being in, I had to be in middle school, and they called me down to the office, and I didn't do anything wrong this time. So they calling me down. But they're calling me down, and they're saying, when school's out, you can catch the bus, but don't go home. And they like, don't go home. And I'm like, okay, well, I can't go home. And they like, well, just go over to your friend's house. So, my buddy, best friend, those who watch the show, Eric, go to his house. And I'm like, why I need to go there? And I'm still questioning because I'm at school. Well, there is no home to go to. That house was burned. I mean, ran down it burned that day. And no one lost their life. So that was the blessing out of all of it. But that was the family home. That was the home my mom grew up in, my aunts grew up in, I grew up in, my uncle grew up in, so to have that home no longer be there. And that's when, we were all tight in Sea Pleasant, Maryland, and everybody living in, I say Big Mama house, but that's how we all grew up together in that house. And then that's when we all scattered because there was no home. The home was gone. So
when I was an inspector, I also was a CERT, meaning Civilian Emergency Response Team. And I think every Thursday we had civilians off the street would come in, and I would teach them fire safety about having extension cords, which is a no-no. Having piggyback extension cords, which is a no-no. plugging in. I went to a fire where they had everything in that outlet, including the plug to the big fish aquarium. Too much wattage, too much amperage. So I taught them some of the things, and even clean around your fire hydrant. Put your address in the back, because when you have a house fire, you got the trucks coming in the back, and you got some engines coming in the back. That'll help us go to the right house, even though we know it. But put your address on it. I used to give all those little tidbits.
Well, that's one I haven't heard. So if you're listening now and you're out there in that chat and you're listening, put your address on the back of your house. The one thing I want to share with you, Ruth, on this one, and I had to learn the hard way on this, is clean the lint from your dryer. Clean that lint from your dryer, because that thing is one of the most flammable things in your house is dry lint. And that's how I ended up with the big burns, the burns I received. So dryer making some funny noises, and I didn't unplug the dryer. I didn't even turn it off. I just moved it to see why it's making a noise. And this big old ball of fire shot out the back of that dryer, ran up the wall, hit the ledge that was over top of the dryer where we put like soap powder and all, and it came straight at me. I mean, this is a big old ball, and I'm seeing it. So at the last second, I just turned, and it's like someone took a pin, drew it right down the middle of my face, and just burned all that side off. So I had second-degree burns on all of this side, going down my arm, and I was never no beauty king or anything anyway. So, but it was rough. It took months and months before everything was to come back. And and I was at that time in the military, so I was stationed in Georgia, and because of I had lost all the pigmentation on my side, that side of my face, and down my arm, I was on quarters. I couldn't even come outside. So Uncle Sam, the only time, like you say, you was writing your books at night. That's the only time I could come out, when the sun went down. I could go to sick hall in the morning before the sun come up, and I couldn't do anything else until the sun went down, because
you know
they was
what?
afraid. They was
and
afraid.
you part of that. Within that fire you had, you found your voice, and now you're out in public.
100%. It took me the longest time to even be around a person lighting a grill, because that flash is like, man, I looked through the fire. It looked like the whole house was up in flames. But and then, like you was mentioning, Ruth, when you saying, excuse me, when y'all go in, that you can't see anything. But that's how it was for that moment. I'm looking through, and it looked like everything was gone. But once it's all settled, and it's like, and the drilling is flowing, and you're a victim now. And I remember the MP, because I'm military, he comes to my house, and he's interviewing me about what happened, because it's hard to tell his story. Like, it was a clothes dryer. It was a clothes dryer. And it wasn't a gas dryer. It was an electric dryer. That made it even worse. Right. So, and he's like, I just got one more question for you. And I'm like, all right, what you got? He like, you sure you don't need to go to the hospital? I'm like, nah. I go look in the mirror and come back, and the whole side had just blistered up while I was sitting there talking. And it's like, man, holy cow. So hats off to the people that put on any type of gear and just go into that, because
I went to another house fire, and it was a small in the bedroom. And when we got up the steps, they was like, "Rookie, open up," because it was hot. So I kind of opened up the pipe, and it was so hot. I heard pop, 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 pop. After I put the fire out in the bedroom, I came downstairs. I had blisters all the way across my forehead.
Oh, wow.
So the chief ordered me to DC General Hospital.
DC jail, huh? Oh, finally we got
it's right next to it. It's right next to it.
Yeah, I know, but I'm just saying, it's me and Ruth. Finally, the truth comes out. Finally,
when you go in that circle, you don't know what you either going to the hospital, going to jail, or you going to the military.
That's true.
You go somewhere in that circle.
Trust me, she decided the 8 engine. I was detailed over there as a sergeant, and for like 2 or 3 years, 4 years, maybe. And you go over to DC jail, man. You've been in that place at least once a day. Almost, and when you go in and it closes behind you, it makes you the gates close, and it makes you understand real quick it's not what I want to do with my life.
When I went in there, I had to have a firefighter in front of me and one behind me. When we had, and they always would set the mattresses on fire. It was sickening.
Well, so now you're talking in my world, because I was a correction officer.
He's done it all,
man. So, man, and they get like, look, you did it. So I'm just gonna sit here and watch it. I'm not gonna do a dang thing. You did that. You did that on your own.
So you one of the ones that had to call us because you sitting there like, oh, let it burn.
man.
Yeah,
Let it burn.
because look, it's a setup. Like that's why you had to have one in
Right.
front and one behind you,
Right.
because they're trying to get you in there and get you in a situation. So I'm like, you did that. You sit there and I'll watch it, and they get mad at you. So yeah, I understand. So look, Mexicali put he put two things in the chat. And I want to recognize what he had to say. One, he said he uses lint to start his fireplace. So it is very flammable. I can tell you.
Absolutely.
A lot of people, if you take the dry lint and save it, put it in baggage when you go camping, just use it to help start your fires. But this is one he put in. He said Yama has two fire departments. One's incorporated in the city. But there are also a rural metro, and their service county boundaries, and the people have to pay for that service.
Right, for that service,
So you pay for the fire department,
Yeah, if it's not in you, if it's not a municipality, your tax dollars don't pay.
And that's what's surprising to me, because like my daughter, she's a journalist, and she's in Hartford, Connecticut. And when she told them that her parents were firefighters and all, when she say DC, their whole attitude changed. So it's like, and then when I read some of the things, like even now, like some of the females that are on maternity leave, they're like, where can I get this from? Where can I get that from? I'm like, DC gave me my uniform.
Yeah.
Really? Yeah. So that kind of like, I'm like, wow. So they really put DC fire on a high pedestal.
Right.
And shout out to Ruth, because she mentioned it, she touched on it. Hey man, there were a lot of women that came before her that really, who are friends of mine to this day. And I'll just go back to B. Rudder, who was the first. And Ruth has some stories, and B's were worse than hers.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
You know. Yeah. And again, as far as proving herself, hey man, I'd go down the smoky hallway with B. Rudder, Ruth, Shirley Campbell. I had Valerie Taylor in my class. I had a lot of ladies that Felicia Arthur was my lieutenant. So there were a lot of women who just really, like as a man in the fire service, right? We all have wives, sisters, mothers, right? So very few guys have respect for men who give women a hard time because they're women, because that same guy that's giving a hard time would not tolerate that if it was happening to his wife, mother or sister, So I don't, I just hate bullies. That's my thing. I don't like bullies. So, with Ruth, before we could even she had a crew that was pretty notorious too. But before you could protect her, she stand her ground. And once she stands her ground, everybody's like, okay, she's good,
good.
But you just can't, once you, to a bully, to a person that's just ignorant, once you stand up to them, they're exposed, because the rest of the crew will protect you,
So Ruth, I'm gonna ask you this question, and Walt, thank you for sharing that. What advice would you give to a person that, say they're 25, 30 years old, 21 years old, and is thinking about going into the fire department? So I say 21. So 21, 18, 21-year-old thinking about going in, and that's usually a female. What advice would you give them as someone that's thinking about doing it?
Okay. I like I said, because I do speaking engagements, you should see I got like 4 pages of your questions I typed. But before I go into that, I want to say I was looking at my chapter, because in my prelude of my book, I give dedication to the female firefighters before me.
Yeah, absolutely.
I
read
did.
the book.
And I said, and I hope I gave insight into the ones coming up now after me. But they paved the way for me in the beginning, and it wasn't that many females.
Yes.
So, and B. Rudder and all of them are part of that. And I put that in my book. But back to your question, I wrote it down. I said, what advice would I share with a 21-year-old? To get out the box and trust your instincts, your gifts, your talents, and leave that negativity behind. It's okay to not follow the crowd, but to be a leader, be transparent, but be patient with yourself, because it's not an easy road. Never allow anyone to downplay you. Stay grounded in your conviction. Establish that vision board that will guide you for your present future, with unwavering commitment of positive manifestation. And lastly, challenge the challenger, which is you.
There you go.
All right. All right. Hey, that's nice. So I would motivate me. So that would motivate me. Let me see. I'm looking at what they said: acquiring news for real, being comfortable, being uncomfortable. So
Uncomfortable. Yeah.
being comfortable, being uncomfortable, because you have to step out. You
Yeah.
know, that's no different than everybody that's started a channel on YouTube or Facebook or Instagram, TikTok. You know, the only way to get started is to get started.
And you
You
just
know,
told
so,
me that
yeah.
when you asked me, do I have any social media things? I got to take my own advice.
Yeah.
I got to get out there.
Again, I wasn't gonna say it because I knew you was listening. So like I said, I'm not gonna say it because I know you're listening. But it's like you have a gift, you have a talent, you have. I mean, you have stories that this platform is set up for you to share. I mean, I wouldn't stop writing my books. Like I told you, we talked about it before. If you got on here and just did one chapter, every video you did was just a chapter of your book and just read it to me, I'm sure I will be sitting here watching you do it. So, without a doubt, I'm trying to get the book back up, and I'm cutting people off. So let me
It's
get
right
your
here.
book. Yeah, I see it. I see you got your book with you. So like that's what I'm talking about. So if you're a book, and if you're out there and you have a book, definitely put your book, bring it with you on the show, and also we can highlight it. And I know I can get it. I'm looking at how I had you all over the place. But let me see if I can get the book back up there. And thank you for putting it up there. Okay. And I don't want to block you out, so it's going to be moving things around. Give me a second. No,
Yeah.
it's not working. Yeah.
It's on Amazon.com. It's on BarnesandNoble.com. It's actually at busboysandpoet.com.
Okay.
And then, of course, if I go to any book events, I have them there that I can sign.
All right. So I did see it and you're right. I saw it on Amazon and Barnes and Noble. And so, yeah, so definitely Within the Fire, I Found My Voice by Ruth Redmond. So, and the link is for Amazon. The link is in the chat at the top. It's pinned. So if you're trying to hit that link, go ahead and get there and get that book because it's huge. Matter of fact, I know I'm in the cart now, so I can get one. So if nothing else, you got one book today, Ruth. So 100%.
Oh, thank you.
So, is there anything that if you could do it again? So let's just say if I could do it again, I would do this. So, I mean, and it's any of the journeys that you had. So I mean, you talked about if I could do it again, I would do this. What would that one thing be?
Finished nursing school. And when my daughter had my granddaughter, and she was under the blue lights, and again, not knowing this was my forte, I had questions that I wrote down, and I went to go visit her, and I had to, put in a gown and everything. And bottom line is, the head nurse of the NICU came in, and she said, "Who is this person with these questions?" And I said, "Me." And she's like, "You got medical background?" Because the questions that I was asking her. So still to this day, I go to doctors with my mom because I still remember and know medical jargon, and I remember medical stuff. So so I had told one of the nurses why I stopped being a nurse. She told that head NICU, and that lady scolded me. And you know why I didn't finish? Because at UDC, it was 5 steps. And the third step was you take OBGYN at the famous DC General Hospital, because that was a teaching hospital. Well, before you go to 3, you had to pass the math in 2. I don't like math. It was the metric system. I failed. So I quit.
Wow.
That's why I'm not a nurse. I quit.
Wow. Been there. I was on the what they call it, probably a 30-40 year plan before I graduated. So and so I was on full scholarship to play. I was in big colleges, but I had my things that I bumped into and ran into that they kept turning me different directions and all. But it was funny because that was something that once my kids started graduating and getting in, it's like, wait a minute, I can't, that was my little motivation. I can't. And my grandfather, I have to give him credit. My grandfather graduated college when he was 70.
Oh,
So
really?
it's like,
Wow.
70 years old, he's got his cap and gown on and all. And I'm like, congratulations. And he pushed and kept on going. And math was his big thing too. It was like he said, man, he talking to me like I had to get a tutor. Like, okay, nothing wrong with tutors.
I didn't know.
There's
It was
nothing
the
wrong with that.
old school metric system where they taught. I had a military nurse, and that's why we were old school. And we had to learn drops per minute for the IV. Now they push a button, they got it going on. But we had to, and the thing is though, they probably, I don't know if I'm quite sure they have to learn that first, because if the power go out, even though they have generators,
they got to figure it out.
Yeah,
it's no different than watching someone take your pulse or do your blood pressure with the actual cuff and all, and putting the stethoscope on your arm and actually you got to know how to do those things.
Yeah,
I remember being in the military and they taught us all how to give each other IVs. I'm like, well, this don't make no sense. I don't want you sticking me, and I don't want to stick you. But they say, if you ever had to do it, this ain't the time to be trying to figure it out. So we actually learned. You had to learn how to do those things. And I'm like I say, I'm not pushing in any type of direction. It's never too late.
Well, the thing is, I stopped because that is only offered in the spring. So that meant I had to have a whole year to take that class. And that's why I said. But I went to a medical assistant school and became a certified medical assistant instead.
Right. There you go. But
when I was in recruiting and Ruth was on light duty,
that's what I kind of regret. What?
No, nothing. I was just saying I was on when Ruth was on light duty, when you were down in my office when I was in recruiting, sometimes like things that I couldn't say, especially to the young kids, I say, Ruth, you need to have a talk with your little niece or nephew over here, especially like coming through, because they just the first time out. So they didn't have a full grasp on a lot of things. And Ruth is also a mother, of course. I said, Ruth, you need to go have a conversation with so-and-so. And she'd break them down like a shotgun, man. They'd come back and apologize and the whole 9 yards. And, we get rolling. But it's just one of those things that if you don't have people in positions to help people and coach people, because it's like I said, it's impossible to know what you don't know. It's easy to just miss those people, man.
Yeah.
And here's the thing. Like the military, Jack, the person where it goes, A students teach B students how to work for C students. Well, the person who has all the experience, all the answers, but no experience, or falls apart the first time things go bad, that's not the person you're looking for as a firefighter.
Right.
That person is trying to figure it out, that's going to go in and say, let me take another look at this, let me figure it out. It might be tough, but if you did it, I can do it. That person there is usually a great firefighter. But you can't.
But you bringing that up again when I was teaching public safety, and
she froze.
Yeah, it froze.
You froze, Ruth.
Yeah, and she wouldn't know it. She'll come back in.
She'll come back in. Okay.
Yeah, and there you go.
When I was an inspector, and depending on the audience, it was a young group. So my mind, I had to do my fire teaching for the young group. So I got up and I pulled a young girl from her desk and I said, come here. And I'm like, how old are you? Blah, blah, blah. I said, well, she was like in her early 20s. And I said, I was at I think a government building. And I said, okay, you go to clubs? She said, yes. Okay, me and you go to clubs. I like going to clubs too. So I said, well, okay, come up front. I said, we dancing in the club. What you drinking? Give me Hennessy and Coke, because everybody know I used to like Hennessy and Coke. She said, oh, I'll have so-and-so. I said, okay, so we on the dance floor dancing. And while we're on the dance floor dancing, I'm looking around to see all my exit signs. And she was like, so I used to gravitate on my audience, even with the seniors, how to grasp them so they can understand fire safety. But I was telling her that. And she's like, she never thought about that.
I think so.
I'm like, yeah. Even
and that's part of it. Like I was an MP when I was in the military. So like if I go in a restaurant, I sit, but I won't sit with my back to the door. I'm always looking for the exits. I'm looking for what's the way out. I'm checking out everybody that walks in the restaurant, walk in a store, because, like I say, it's July, 90 degrees outside. You got on a trench coat, whatever. Like this
Yeah.
ain't the math
Situational
ain't
awareness.
mathing. Something ain't right. Yeah.
You
Yeah.
So
talked
like, let
about
me
those
see
smoke
what's going on.
detectors. You talked
Right.
about those smoke detectors earlier, and Ruth, you know a couple of these guys I talk to almost every other day, and I hear the smoke detector chirping. I'm like, man, you got to
Yeah.
be kidding me,
Yeah.
because we're not immune from fires either, right?
Mhm.
But it may be that one smoke detector. You got vaulted ceilings in your house that you might have to put a daggone scaffolding up to
Yeah,
get
yeah,
to,
yeah.
because when
Yeah.
they built your house, I mean, they didn't think like that. It should have been in reach so you could change it, but maybe that one snuck past somebody. So I laugh at a buddy of mine to this day. I'm like, look, man, I'm not going to talk to you today because I don't feel like hearing the smoke detector chirp all day.
Yeah.
And it's like,
So
and they don't last forever. And you should
right.
change the batteries when you change the time on your
Yeah.
clocks, and you should
Now,
replace them according to the manufacturer's suggestions.
suggestions.
And you
Yeah, I was
do
gonna ask
need
you that, Walt. Go ahead. Go ahead.
and you do need a CO detector,
Hmm.
and all of those things should come into play. And it's basic. It seems basic stuff, and it's never a problem until it's a problem.
If
Come
it
the
is a
problem.
problem.
So yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, the hey, clean your oven, right?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Because just over time, you get a dirty oven, that stuff can catch
That's
fire.
build
And
up.
then
Yeah.
if you do have a fire in your oven, don't panic. Just close the door.
Close the door
But
and
you'd
the
be surprised how
microwave.
many people will open the door, see a fire, and run out the house.
Yeah.
I mean, because if you don't know, you don't know.
Yeah.
Right. Right.
So all of these things, like with the cert, I'm a cert instructor too, Ruth. Uh, just little things, how to use a smoke detector, first aid, you know, even the things that we learned as kids that you don't do anymore, right? Like
Yeah.
how many times your face, you got burned. When we were kids, somebody be trying to put butter on your face. Am I right,
Yeah.
Ruth?
Yeah. You don't put
Which
butter.
is is a no-no, right?
Yeah.
Wow.
You get a nosebleed, right? What do they tell you? Put your nose back.
Right.
The average person, would choke. Just little things that we learned as a kid. That's why it's a big joke when you, especially
Right.
online, what we survived and what this generation can't survive is just a different deal. So
Yeah.
And I used to teach fire extinguisher safety too.
yes,
Oh yeah. Well, yeah. Definitely, that's needed.
We probably
100%.
gonna have a simulator, and people love that. The
Yeah.
civilians love it because some people still don't have like older apartments have their fire extinguishers in the
in
hallway.
the
So,
hallway,
Mm.
right?
and even in the
Yeah.
jobs, I'm like, you got to know how to use it.
Got to
Right.
use it. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
So I wanna make sure we recognize. So Aquatic News Network is out there, and I think
Aquatic
he's been
News.
dropping all kinds of
Yes, he
comments,
has.
and he's moving. Mexicali Fishkeeper as the Walt had a YouTube channel. Walt, do
I
you have a
just got a
YouTube channel?
name
So we're
last
talking
week.
about all these stories, and they don't have YouTube channels, but it's okay. So and Cassie Kitchen Creation is still dropping links, and we like to say, B is normally here, better than Nightbot, but she is
Yes,
not feeling well, so we hope that
will be.
she get well soon and all.
Please.
So want to and I guess we got Ruth Redmond on here as a guest, and I know we went into more fire safety, which is important. So I don't want to take away from that because the nuggets that you're dropping are huge. Because now I'm gonna throw one on you because my industry is around electricity.
This is going to be
So
fun.
and because of that, we have to now educate the firefighters to back away because that thing don't care about what suit you got on. So it's a lot of voltage going through. So but one of the things that y'all was talking about, especially with the kids and especially in the houses and all, but that big green box is outside in your neighborhood, that pad mount transformer that's sitting in the yards and all of that. That is not base. That is not a warm spot to sit. That is a bomb in a box. I'm telling y'all,
Yes.
100% is a bomb in a box. Because anywhere, and I don't care where you live, is somewhere between 4 and 33,000 volts running through that
Yes.
green box out there. So
Yeah.
stay away from it. If it goes, it's going to be catastrophic, and even the fire department will wait until
Oh,
a lot of their utility companies come and help get that self
And
safe, where they can go in and do what they got
question
to do.
Pepco.
they got to
Yeah,
shut
that's it.
it down.
So,
But yeah, you're right.
Yes.
'Cause in my neighborhood, I see them sitting on that green box.
oh
Just
yeah. And we did too. That's
Oh
why they,
yeah, sure.
I
Yeah,
grew up like that, and that's
sure.
why they took them little like stirrups off of the poles because people was climbing up into
Climbing
the
the
thing,
pole. Yeah, sure.
climbing up into the
Mhm.
transformers and up into
Yeah,
the wires.
yeah.
And electricity is another one where a lot of people just don't know what to do when a situation happens. So those are the things that you're hearing a lot of people, safety in this, like they, Miss Utility would say, before you dig every dig, call them and let them mark your
Yes.
yard up. And they don't
Mhm.
care what it is. I'm just digging a little hole for the
Yeah,
garden.
for the garden. Yeah.
You
Yep.
don't, if you don't know where those wires are running underneath your grass or
Right.
whatever,
Right.
it can really hurt you and hurt somebody. So it's just, before you dig every dig, so those are some of the things that, as we're sharing today. And I don't know if this is our
Yes.
PSA, but
PSA
public
moment.
service
Yeah, salute.
announcement
Absolutely.
to be safe out there, because now with the holidays coming up, and Ruth, you talked about it with the pyrotechs and people wanting to set off the different fireworks and things,
Yes.
that's one of the biggest days of hurt injuries.
Yes.
People setting off firecrackers and cherry bombs and sparklers and all of that stuff and getting burned up. So it doesn't care. It doesn't know what
Mhm.
it's doing exactly what it's designed to do, and that's burn and make colors. But at
Mhm.
the same time, no different than, again, those holidays and people out there, what they call it, frying their turkey or whatever.
Oh yeah.
Oh man.
I'm sure without a doubt, barbecues and this and that,
Oh
y'all
yeah.
been
Well,
in
just
many houses.
you said it. Lighting the grill.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, you'd be surprised how many people turn the propane on, close the top, let it collect, and then stick a match under it.
Mm.
And propane is heavier than air, so the propane is coming out. I mean, it's just crazy. So y- you, there used to be a movie, not even I guess it was a movie, a show, uh, Thousand Faces of Death or a Million, whatever it was a show on basically ways to get killed. And
Oh
and
yeah.
and man, I got to tell you, man, sometimes we'll show up and we're just like, how in the world did this happen without more people
Mhm.
get, and you too, I'm
Right.
sure, without more people getting damaged. So
Well, you
Right.
know what? Being a
yeah,
firefighter all those years, I never lit a grill.
hey,
I don't know how, and I'm not going to.
Don't
But
put
speaking
nothing to do
of
with it.
electricity, a little nugget also. When I was an investigator, a lot of bedroom fires started. You know where it started? Because people had their extension cords underneath heavy furniture, and that electricity was pinched. It built
yes,
up till it couldn't go nowhere else, and
Mm.
yes,
I had to
Yeah.
get my own mother about that. Get that
Mm.
dresser off that plug.
Oh yeah.
yeah,
I mean, the thing is, it's an eyesore to see the cord, so I'm gonna put something on
hey
top of it so I
man,
don't see
Yeah.
it.
yeah,
But then at the same time, like I say, it needs to cool as well. It has to,
Mhm.
well, anyway, we could get into it. We could get
all
into
kind
it
of
a
stuff.
lot, and there's like,
But
because a
now
lot
the
of
big thing is the lithium batteries.
oh yeah, big time.
Mhm.
But you
Woo.
know what happened to me the other day? I had one of those charging banks with the individual slots where you can charge different cell phones and everything,
Right.
Mhm.
and it's rated pretty good. But I put a like one of those bricks to use as a charger,
Mm.
on it,
Right.
and I went to get it, and the charger was on, not fire, but it was hot.
Mm.
So I immediately just threw it in the trash because it probably wasn't rated to
I was
charge
going to
that
say,
the charging brick. It
a
was
Right.
lot of
okay
Right.
for
people don't
phones.
know about the ratings.
Yeah,
You should
it,
have
it wasn't rated for that.
UL
Yes.
ratings. That's
Yeah.
important. Or even
Yeah.
with light bulbs, if they tell you
Yes.
don't use 100 watts,
Yes.
only
Yes.
a
Don't use 100 watts.
65.
Yes. Yes. And
Well,
Jack, you know this with electric football as a kid, man. I mean, you're not a real electric football player until you put the wires together and get shocked. I mean, it's just
oh
house
yeah, yeah.
current. But
Well,
the first thing, just cutting it on and off, the cord is frayed. I mean, I have one for
right.
my grandson right now, and it's not frayed, but
Mhm.
I'm kind of looking forward to not looking forward to it because I'll probably get arrested nowadays. You say something like that, but every kid needs to experience that. You see,
Yeah.
yeah, every
Yeah.
kid needs to experience. Okay, you don't believe me? Step back, let
Yeah.
them work, let them
I
go.
mean, and
It's
you're
not going
right.
to kill them, but that's the way I learned.
Yeah, and
Sometimes people don't
we
believe,
just got
bro.
lucky.
Yeah,
'Cause
oh man,
the more we learned about it, like when
oh
you didn't
yeah,
know,
how
they say
lucky we were. Yeah, yeah,
the what's say the dumb and the innocent. You just
and
didn't know, or you're just too innocent to get hurt. So,
and
but yeah,
and
we
with these
just didn't
electric
know.
cars, people are
Right.
charging their cars and they're not heavying up their house. and you get a lot of fires from that. So I mean,
Oh,
it's
yeah.
it's a lot that goes into this thing called life, man, and we get away with a lot. We get away with a lot. So it's
No,
big.
and it is, and it's
Yeah.
it's like and Ruth, you hit talked on it about, like I say, a lot of that is a property that might have been passed down through family, through generations, through
Yes.
this, and it's gone. I mean, it's gone. Smoke damage is just as bad as the fire itself.
Mhm.
The water damage from trying to put things out, it's hard to recover from that. And you can walk away and say, hey, at least we still have life. But at the
Mhm.
same time, you know, a lot of those things are irreplaceable. You're just not going to be able to replace it
Okay.
because of how where it came from. We talked about that when Walt Talk was on the show. The fires in California and how, I mean, neighborhoods was just
Yeah.
gone, you know, and it don't have to be from fire. I mean, a
Mhm.
Yeah.
tornado, a
Yeah.
hurricane, or something like that. So the devastated area. So I mean, a lot of that is, you know, it is. And for people who are fire starters, they really like
That's a
to
real
do that
thing.
and arson and this and that. It's good to have investigators go out and people that go out and bring them to justice for doing the wrong that they do, because you don't realize, you know, especially in them townhomes, because a lot of townhomes
Yeah.
are connected. So
Mm.
yeah, you went after this one, but you end up getting the
Oh,
whole row,
yeah.
and you know, so it's like, wow. But
And
anyway,
and
go ahead, Walt.
DC does have a junior fire starters pro. Is it junior
Yeah.
fire setters?
Here,
Junior
here,
fire
fire setters
junior fire setters
So
program.
this
program.
is to help them
Oh,
become
time out,
firemen.
time out. Can I say this real quick?
Yeah, go ahead.
Uh, the junior fire setters program, correct,
Mm-hmm.
is run by a lady named Elisa Ortella.
Mm.
The name sound familiar, Big Jack?
Alizo Taylor. No.
Yes.
Okay.
Really, I'm gonna tell her you said that.
Okay.
Brenda Fenton,
Oh,
Elisa
okay. Yeah.
Ortella.
Yeah. Okay. Well, yeah.
They run. Elisa runs
Yeah.
she runs the fire setting
Okay.
program.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
now, wait a minute. So this is fire setters, not to teach them how to set fires, but
No,
this is
no,
like
no,
Uh,
no.
to.
This is kids who like
I
to
got
play
you.
with matches,
I
yeah.
got
and she kind of walks them through this program to
I've had
try to
Okay.
get them to the situation.
yeah, I've
Okay.
had
Wow.
fires where a child started and I had to refer them to her.
Right.
Man,
That the house I talked about. That's when it finally came down to what happened. In my home, I was still young, so the house I lived in, that was from playing with fire, kid.
wow.
You
Mm.
know,
Yeah,
so but it's, you know, it is what it is, and
yeah,
but yeah, so it's good that they have programs for that, because that
Yeah.
is
Oh yeah.
and it's a fascination. I mean, it's pretty.
yes,
Fire is beautiful. I mean,
yes,
you just look at it, the flames, and you know, people. I mean, you could go on YouTube now and see somebody with a fireplace in the back,
Mm-hmm.
yes,
just showing it, and people. I mean, thousands of people are viewing this fireplace
yes,
because
yes.
they like the
Running all
crackling
day.
of the
Yes.
sound and
And the
the
smell.
fire going. So yeah. So matter of
Yeah.
fact, I said
Oh, and
Mexicali said I was a little pyro when I was a kid. So a lot of people,
Mexican.
100%.
Why am I not
Yeah.
surprised on that one,
Yeah.
Mexican?
Yeah.
You need to
So
have an escape plan for your house too. You know,
Oh yeah.
yeah,
as a family, have a plan. Just like you have a fire drill at
that's
school or
cool.
at work.
Mhm.
Know where you're going to meet. Have a plan, and because the
People
worst
don't
thing in
do
the
that.
world, yeah, but and I'm saying you should, because when we show up, you know, if you're out front, and I've had one, and the gentleman was out front in his underwear. Is everybody out of the house? Yes. Are you sure? Yes. And after all was said and done, uh, the guy who was up, he said, except for so and so, and he had jumped out of the window upstairs. So they found him in the rear of the house, and
Mhm.
he was deceased. But
Mm-hmm.
what the guy down in the basement who was outside in his drawers didn't know is someone had brought the other kids over to the house,
Yeah.
Mm.
And see,
and he
people
didn't
still
know.
don't do those kind of
Yeah,
things. They
yeah,
Right.
and I mean, yeah, that was a casualty. That was 3 fatalities, and that one
Now,
still haunts me.
what you're saying, Walt, and
Hmm.
Ruth, like, yes, in the last show we had on Sunday, we were
Hmm.
talking about foster caring and this and that.
Yes.
Mhm.
So for me to set my house up for foster care, we had to have the escape plan on the
There
wall
you go on the
so that
wall.
you
There
can
you go.
actually see which way
Yes.
to get out. The fire
That's
extinguishers
good
had to
stuff.
be
That's
there,
right. Yeah,
smoke
that's right.
detectors and all had to be there. So the things that they make you do for foster care, it's not even a requirement for regular
Right,
care,
right. Not
that it
not at
should be a
all.
requirement. You should have the same
Good.
stuff. So
Yeah.
so we definitely have that in the house now, even though we're not fostering
Mhm.
anymore and things like that. But we got the escape ladders, we got the all
There
of
you
these
go.
things that
Mhm.
if something was to happen, that we can do our best to, get
Good.
out safely. And
Yeah.
then, like I say, where's the meeting place? Where's the place
Right.
to get to? And even in my job, my job, we of course you do the fire drill, and we throw a little spin. So now the main entrance is shut. So where are you going now?
Yeah. Yeah. You
And
got
we
to
say,
know other exit.
yeah, we got to find another. A lot of people don't even know what other exits are. They don't even
Nope.
know that there's other parts of the building, because we come in one door, we go
Yeah,
out
you
one
go out
door.
the
And
yeah.
if
And another
but
little tidbit I used to teach. Know how many steps you got going
Yeah.
to your door.
14 for me. Yeah.
15 for me. So if the house is
Yeah.
dark or in a fire, you'd already know, okay, I'm at the land, I'm here. Let me
Yeah.
count my steps. And 15, oh, there go my front door.
right,
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
And I remember being in Memphis, Tennessee. We went to a fire museum, a firehouse museum out there. And they had a full simulator in there where you can actually go through, and
Yes.
the door handle was warm, and it got
Yes.
real smoky and you
Yes.
couldn't see. But I thought that was one of the coolest
Yes.
things I've ever been in, because it was as real as you could be without
Mhm.
actually having the flames
Yes.
on you. But like I say, the door got warm, the smoke filled up, and you had to get the low crawl and get down
Yes.
low and this and that. And even like they say, even opening the door, like I say, because
Yes.
the fire needs the three things to survive, and so if you're going to feed it,
Yeah.
Yeah.
maybe that oxygen is what it needed
That's
to,
right.
so
Um,
it's a lot of things that you learn. And
mhm.
Yes.
but at the same time, sharing that information. And I truly thank you for being here and sharing this with us today, Ruth. It's been a real blessing. I think I'm not saying we didn't shortchange you in any kind of way, but I know it's so much more to learn. So we might have to bring you back on for a part 2 or whatever. So
I'm here.
yeah, so it's been fun. And so I know Walt, and uh without a doubt, Walt can talk. He can make it talk. So he's my E.F. Hutton. When I say when Walt talks, people listen. So I love listening to him, share. And the big thing I got out of this show, I mean, one, having you on, Roof, was a blessing, but the passion that y'all both have for the safety of people out there. Like you say, you're still teaching, and I believe in that. Again, I'm not promoting you to have a channel, either one of y'all,
I am.
but I
For
believe
Ruth,
that
I am.
I believe there's a lot of people that will benefit from your knowledge, your understanding, and your way to come across to the people, just by just being you. And I honestly believe that that would be a channel you wouldn't have to worry about me subscribing to. And I can almost say, if anyone is watching this video, would be a subscriber as well. And even in the future, as they watch it, because you have a lot to give and offer a lot of us. So just think about it. And if you need any help, as far as, give me some advice, give me this, give me that, yeah, I'm here. That's what the Iron Sharpening Iron is all about. We trying to help each other. I believe that we are stronger together, and that if each one would just reach one, we can all grow and glow. And that's exactly what I believe and feel. But Ruth, I thank you again for being on the Iron Sharpening Iron Show. It's been a wonderful blessing. And Walt, always, man,
Hey
thanks for
man.
coming up here on the stage with me.
For sure.
And
For sure.
Mexicali say Walt needs a channel, so he put it out there. So Walt needs a channel.
Hey man,
So look,
hey, I just got my rookie card just got printed.
that's it.
Mexicali, my rookie card just got printed. I just got a set of headphones, man. I just stopped scratching up the shirt with the microphone,
Yeah,
man. So yeah,
but they cooking
I'm
with
definitely
gas.
probably about the 6th, 7th man on the JV squad right now. So
Yeah.
I'm learning. I'm learning a lot.
So I know it's going to block Walt out, because we've
Mm.
tried multiple times, but I'm going to put the book back up there one more time so we can see it.
Okay.
Excuse me. So, because I want people to know this book,
That's right.
and it's going to block you out a little bit while I couldn't
I'm
figure
good.
out how to
I'm
get it, but
good.
it's good. But
Yeah.
there it is right there. So within the fire, I found my voice, a memoir by Ruth Redmond, and we thank you again, Ruth, for being on here. And all of you out there, you can find it on Amazon. You can find it on at Barnes and Noble. I've seen Walmart was down there, so it's a lot of different places that I've seen that had the book. And so if you search for the book, find the book, read the book, and let Ruth know what you thought about the book. And I believe she said there's another book coming. You got another one in the works.
Yeah, I'm working on a children's book and an
Okay.
anthology.
All right.
The
And there you go.
anthology might be the volume 2 to Within the Fire. It'll talk
Okay.
more of scenarios that I actually went into.
Got you. So you don't have to worry. Like I say, I already put mine in the cart. So once the show is over, I'm going to hit that button. But Ruth, again, I thank you for being on the show. Walton, I thank you, everyone in the chat. We thank y'all for being here with us today. And as usual, you know, we're here every Wednesday and every Sunday, 7 p.m. Eastern time. And it's always a blessing to have you with me. And I encourage you, and hopefully that you will be back for the next episode of the Iron Sharpening Iron Show. But until next time, we're going to ask you all to stay blessed and peace, and we'll talk to you later. All right.
Thank you. Safe, everyone.
All right.
Thanks, Ruth.
Thanks.